thought possible.
Wonderful. So undoing the things that they're not doing correctly, like undoing the bad habits, and then doing a lot of things right. And is it just me, or has the dental industry really been like better dialed in lately? Like I remember when I was a kid, I really didn't like the dentist, and it wasn't a really pleasant place. But then the place that I go to, I'm in and out so fast. And then I have a 3-year-old son, and we just started taking him to the dentist, and they have like a yearly subscription, and they seem to like know exactly what they were doing, and there was like a step-by-step process. So is it just me, or is the dental space a lot better dialed in, more evolved, less scary, better process?
Yeah, it really depends on the practice, but I'll tell you, as a whole, dentistry has grown. It has matured into a great industry, and some practices much better run than others. But as you've experienced, right, the patient experience has gotten a whole lot better.
Wonderful. And so, where are some dentists going wrong? Like, if someone says, "Okay, well, I'm doing okay, but I really want to get tapped in to the practices that really know what they're doing." You mentioned there's like those pillars, the criteria, but is there like a logical starting point? Is there like a something small where someone can start to make a change?
I'll tell you the best place, and I always recommend this for anyone, is you got to get clarity. If you don't know where you're going, you're going to end up there. You need a roadmap. And I always recommend creating a vivid vision of your life. What do you want your life to look like? Not a decade from now, not 100 years from now. Those are certainly good. You want that in the vision somewhere. But I tell everyone, think about 3 years out, 36 months. That's just far enough in the future that you can really start nudging things and you can feel it and you can see it and you can grasp it. But get very detailed with what you want your practice to look like. What do you want your life to look like? What are the things you love doing that you want to do more of? What are the things you don't like doing that you want to do less of? Get really clear on what your practice and your life looks like. And that's the starting point, is it always begins with clarity.
I love it. And that's a logical starting point, and it makes perfect sense. And yet I imagine that most people probably don't even have this sort of vision or goal. I imagine that most people like haven't thought this through, haven't written this down, even though it sounds so simple, but I imagine it's probably like single digit percent of people that have actually done this.
Yeah, it's a very, very small percentage of people who have actually taken the time to craft that vivid vision. So I do one every 3 years. It's a powerful, wonderful exercise. And the beauty is it's a living document. You get to adjust it and work on it, but you need something guiding you to where you want to go.
Well, wonderful. So we need to have this guy to know where you want to go. And you're this guy that you help dentists. So can you tell us a little bit about your story? Because it helps to know just like, about your uniqueness and what you're all about and the sort of change you create. So what is the nuts and bolts of Mr. Tim McNeely himself?
Well, thank you for asking that. And this is an industry and a group of people that I am passionate about serving. And it all started when I married and fell in love with a dentist. Imagine that. And my wife, I know this may surprise most of you listening, she had another boyfriend when we first started dating. I know, right? Mind blown.
Wow.
But the boyfriend wasn't the typical boyfriend. The boyfriend was her dental practice. It was invasive. And Dana and I, we'd be out to dinner on date night or enjoying a wonderful walk together. And all of a sudden, that other boyfriend would show up. And it was stories about, I got to hold back a paycheck so I can make payroll, or I got to deal with a grumpy patient, or I've got to figure out how to grow the practice. It was a lot of stress on her and on me. And at that time, I was a very ordinary advisor. I thought it was my job just to manage a little investment portfolio. And it didn't matter how well I could manage my wife's investable assets. She had bigger problems that I couldn't solve. And I found myself in a job I hated, and I couldn't take care of the person I loved the most. I knew something needed to change. And so that's where I really started to study the strategies of the super rich and try to bring those down and implement them in our life. And as we did that, you know what happened? Things started getting better. We created that vision of where we wanted to go. We started getting really clear and started bringing in the right team of people. And instead of asking, how can we do this? We started asking, who can help us do this? And we got back to enjoying life together and really working our relationship again. But sometimes life can throw you a curveball and something that you're not ready for. In Dana's instance, it was her hands. She got to the place where she couldn't even hold forceps to do extractions anymore. Now we weren't just worried about our personal finances, or the business finances. We were worried about our personal finances as well. And I'll tell you, I'll never forget in being in the doctor's office with her, Robert. We were down there, and I want you to imagine being in the doctor's office, waiting for the doctor to come in and tell the person you love the most if they've got a future in their chosen career. And the reason I won't forget that day is as we were facing this disability and this potential issues with her hands, we had run the numbers, we had done the planning, and we knew that no matter what the doctor told us when he came in the room, we were going to be okay. And it was really in those moments, in working through those issues with my wife, that I fell in love with what I did again, because I saw the big impact I could have working with the right people and helping them optimize their financial world.
And these are great ideals, right? These are wonderful values to share. And again, what's great about it is that they're simple and they're doable, but they're so simple that many people just don't even think these things through or don't have these thoughts. These ideas about working on problems, about having these big dreams and goals. And then I also like the positivity you mentioned there of saying, well, instead of asking, can we do this? It's who can help us do it. So it's not even a question of can we do it. It's like finding the path, and then the how is figured out by the who. And then also there's that element of perspective, right? In that in the moment we get so stressed out by the little things, right? Like, should I go to this college, take this job, move to that location? And it's scary in the present moment. But when you look back, we think, even if you'd taken a different path, making a different decision, you would have figured out those other set of circumstances, and it would have been okay. And so that seems really kind of scary and difficult in the moment to say, like, okay, the wife has this dental practice, this dental skill, but then now there's this kind of physical disability happening. So then I imagine then she had no choice but to systematize and delegate. So what happened next?
Well, and so really going through that process, this is where one of the strategies from the super rich come in. And when I say super rich, I've been privileged to help underwrite research on people with net worth in excess of $500 million, because I want to learn from them. And the great thing about these strategies is you can use them whether you're worth $10 million, $1 million, or you got $1. Like, you can use these strategies no matter what your net worth is. And the strategy we put in place is one called stress testing, where we question the underlying assumptions of our plan to make sure, like our President Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. You want to make sure you're actually going to get the results that you're expecting your plans are going to deliver. And we ran this stress test, and we discovered that her disability policy that she purchased from a well-meaning advisor when she first got out of school was actually set up in a way that those benefits were fully taxable to her. Had we not done that stress test, we would have missed that critical component of the planning. But by catching it early, we were able to create tax-free income by paying for the policy in a different way, right? A real little adjustment to our plans made a massive impact if we were facing that uncertainty of disability. So stress testing, this is something you can do no matter where you are in terms of your net worth, whether you're a dentist or not a dentist. This is applicable to everyone. Trust but verify.
Wonderful. And stress testing is this opportunity to actually see what's possible and what can be done. And we've all been there, right? I mean, you think of like an iPhone, right? Or a phone. They say, well, it's got to be this size, it's got to be this weight, it can only fit these things in here. And so then that kind of speaks to your other sorts of decisions. If you're in a situation where the income is limited, or the time is limited, or the resources limited, then it's your chance to kind of force to be more resourceful and figure things out. And so how has this situation, this journey evolved with you and your wife since then?
Well, since then, I've gone on to become a best-selling author. I run one of the top dental podcasts out there called the Dental Wealth Nation Show, and I've really been able to help a select group of clients. Right, that's the important about niche is I want to have a big impact for the right people. I don't want to work with everyone. I want to work with the right people. And so I've really been able to have a major impact on a group of people that I am privileged to work with. And it's really given me a career and something that I'm passionate about and I love doing again. And so it was really using these trials to learn and to grow and to have my passion awakened.
Wonderful. And so what is it that you do? Like, a dentist office or a dentist comes to you. What problem do they have, and what do you do to work your magic?
So I'll tell you, most doctors show up to me when they're anywhere from 5 to 10 years of exiting their dental enterprise. And typically I'll get very large solo practices that are worth $4 or $5 million, but really I'm working with group practices, and these are dental enterprises. So these are the entrepreneurial dentists. They come to me and they say, Tim, we're looking at exiting. I want to take some money off the table. I want to mitigate my taxes. I don't want to pay more than I have to. And I want to start doing planning so that I can really transition this business that I've built, and that it will continue to provide for the employees. I can take capital off the table, reduce my taxes, and really build an amazing life of significance. They're looking for what's next, and they're looking for that guidance. And typically they have a handful of advisors that they've probably outgrown, and they're really looking for advanced planning strategies that are really going to move the needle for them. And that's why they end up finding me and end up working with me.
And I was just having a conversation earlier today about this idea that you might have someone on your team or an advisor, so to speak, that maybe you've had early on or had since the beginning, and you're with them up to a certain point, but then they're kind of there's no further future there. And sometimes to do something more specialized, more specific, like in this case, exiting the practice, it might be time to get someone new on the team and have them just kind of work the process and speak to what they specifically are a unique expert at. So that this is a great idea, that if someone is looking to do something new, exiting the business, taking the money off the table, it might be time to reach out and kind of start fresh with you and see what can be done. And so what sorts of problems are they facing? It's easy enough to say, okay, I built the practice, I'll figure out my SOPs, I'll hire my team, I'll dial back my hours. It all sounds good in theory, but in real life, as we both know, things happen. So what gets in the way of the dream these dentists have of exiting?
Well, the things that will get in the way is the deal can get derailed. Or perhaps they start finally getting into the negotiation phase and they find out they didn't do appropriate planning to mitigate those taxes. And that first number they got, it's a really big number, but when they start looking at the after tax number, it's a whole lot smaller. And they realize, well, actually that's not enough capital. I thought my business was worth this, but I'm really going to only net out this. So that gets in the way. And even family can get in the way, right? Family dynamics and family governance is so important, especially when you've got these larger enterprises, and sometimes there's family members involved. And how do you pass that business on? Is one child going to feel left out? So there's really a myriad of problems that can pop up and issues that arise. And coming back to the advisors, that's part of the stress testing process also, is doing an analysis of who are your advisors and are they still the right advisors for you? Because our businesses grow, right? We as humans evolve. And if those advisors haven't grown with you, then it may be time to look for new advisors.
Well, wonderful. And so, so you have this Dental Wealth Nation podcast, and you've had all these really cool, amazing conversations, different people, different lessons and insights. Is there anything that stands out? Like, is there anything as far as the clients you've helped, the podcasts you've done? Has there been anything that's just really like wowed, aha'd, surprised you as far as just new, unexpected information?
I'll tell you, it's actually what I started off with when you asked me, like, what's the starting point? And the thing that I have discovered by talking to all these wonderful thought leaders within dentistry who are really moving the needle, who are really having an impact, is they all have a vision. They all have a place that they are heading towards, and they can see it so clearly, and they're bringing that vision right here into the present. And so for me, vivid vision is really one of the key highlights that I've been able to pick out in talking to all these different guests and learning from them. But that's what I love about running the show, is it's really being able to talk to people and have amazing conversations and learn from some of the best and the brightest people out there.
And I mean, that's like self-help 101, right? That's like one of the most important lessons, is have this vision and, have it written down and review it and rewrite it. And so that way it will get you through the tough times, and it will help you decide what to say no to. And so to help us out, like as far as this, what the vision looks like, is there a sort of template, like as far as either like, do you have a list, or when these people share their vision with you, is there an easy way for us to say, hey, that's a really great example, and that maybe I won't copy that, but that's a good starting point for my own goals and vision? Like, is there a sort of template there?
Absolutely. And when it comes to me helping my clients create this, there's 7 key areas that we always dive in and we assess and we look at. And the first is values, right? What's important about money to you? Money, it means so many different things to so many people. We want to know, what do you value about it? Is it the relationships? Is it the control? Is it the freedom? Is it the independence? Is it the status? So we start with, what do you value about money? From there, we move on to, what are your actual goals? What do you want to achieve? What are you proudest of having achieved? And then, what do you want to achieve in the future? Then we do an assessment of, who are the most important relationships in your life, right? Is it spouse? Is it kids? Is it, a niece or a nephew? Is it employees, right? Who are the relationships that matter most to you? Then after we've got those 3 areas, we actually dive in, and yes, we do talk about assets and liabilities. That's important. So we get a full picture of all of that. But then we also dive in and we talk about, who are the advisors in your life, right? Who are the people giving you advice? What does your team look like? We talk about, what's the process you like? Do you like to be really hands-on? Do you like to be super involved, or hands-off and delegate, right? What's the process you like to use in managing your wealth? And then we actually even ask, what do you like to do when you're not working? Who are you as a human? And so we find bringing those 7 core elements together really gives us a great complete picture to start pushing forward and helping you achieve what's most important to you.
I love it, and you're definitely a financial advisor, and that's what I love about the accountants, financial advisors, money guys, is that they make the numbers come alive, right? Because you think, well, what is money? It's is it a piece of paper? Is it a bit and a byte on a computer? It's just abstract. But then you think about, well, what does it mean to you, and what are the assets, and who are your people, and how do you feel about it? It can make these things exciting, and it's always fun to have a conversation like this with someone like you, because like I feel like I absorb some of the energy, the excitement about money. And so you have the service you provide, you have the podcast, and also like you mentioned, you have the book. And so what's in that book? What's exciting about it?
So in the book, we lay out a 7-step process that anyone can use. You don't have to be a dentist. It helps if you are, but you don't even have to be a dentist. But it really is a 7-step process that you can use to decrease your taxes, increase your impact, and leave a thriving legacy. And we dive into those 7 key areas. And right, once again, it's tax mitigation. It's taking care of the people you love. It's, making a dent in the universe. And really, how do you do this in a systematic way instead of haphazard? Because so much planning today, it's done in a haphazard manner. Maybe you met with an estate planning attorney at one point and did some estate stuff. And then you met with an insurance specialist and you did some insurance stuff. And then CPA, you did some stuff, but it's never been looked at holistically and cohesively in one place. And so this is really a systematic process to help you get everything dialed in, to make sure you're catching all the opportunities that are out there and avoiding costly errors along the way.
Wonderful. You're making me flash back to, I think, maybe like 10 or 12 years or so. I talked to some guy, and he said to like redo your mortgage, reconfigure it this way, pay it off sooner, and this will save you $80,000. And it's always fun to think about decisions like that, right? Where someone like you looked at the whole map, looked at everything, and said, hey, based on what I see, do this one change, do this one thing differently, do this before you do that, and then it makes such a difference. You think about if someone was building their own house and they just said, oh, well, today I'll work on this wall and I'll work on that floor, and they just kind of go over a randomness, it sounds like a mess. But if you say, well, I'll make the frame and then I'll add the wiring, then that's a more like logical way of doing it. And one way, the haphazard way, it's putting way more work and strain on yourself, might not get done, might not get where you want to go, versus being strategic, working in the order of importance, getting help with someone like you. And so how does someone get help from you? Like, what's the
Well,
website? What's the next step? And how does someone know if they're a good fit?
yeah, and actually, I'll back up if that's okay, and deal with
Yeah.
that mortgage thing for just a quick second, because it's like, what's the right answer? Do you pay it off early or don't you? Well, you'll save a lot of money if you do, and if you don't, you're paying more interest. So, what's the right answer? And the right answer is, it depends, right? It's going to depend on what your actual goals are. If you've sat down and you tell me, hey, I want to get out of debt as quickly as possible, I want to create financial freedom, and I hate having that monthly payment, then yeah, the right answer is pay off the mortgage. But maybe you've taken an approach and you say, well, actually, I want to maximize my net worth. I'm comfortable with that. And actually, I want to acquire more properties. In that case, paying off the mortgage is the wrong answer. So that's why it comes back to the very first thing I said. It's clarity about your goals. Because if you have that clarity, how you go about everything else is going to make a lot of sense. If you don't have clarity, it is going to be haphazard and it's going to be really fuzzy and you're not going to be sure why you're doing what you're doing.
And I love it. It's relative, right? Because the answer for you might be different than someone else who has different goals.
Yeah, there's no cookie cutter out there, especially when it comes to the high net worth space. These are bespoke plans built for the family.
Wonderful. So yeah, next steps. Tell us about the website and what we should do.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me at timmcneely.com. You can, of course, follow the show and tune in and listen and interact with our guests, ask questions. We've got fantastic people from some of the best coaches and consultants to transition specialists to mindset experts to top dentists who have grown amazing enterprises. So come join us, join the conversation, and hit us up in our Facebook group. We'd love to have you.
I love it. And what's great about the podcasting world is that there's the randomness, right? Someone here, they're listening to you, they get a taste of what you have, and they can go on the podcast and get all these different ideas, different financial advice, as you said, other subtopics like mindset. And then as far as like your ideal person, is there like a type of person with a specific problem and you say, hey, this is my exact person I want, this person with this practice who wants to exit in 10 years or whatever, like what's the ideal person? And if they say, okay, that's me, I need to actually speak to Tim directly. Is there a sort of criteria that someone could meet?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's that dental entrepreneur, right? So it's a dentist who's driven for more. They want to continue to create wealth. They want to leave that amazing legacy. They've created an enterprise, and they've got a 7 to 8 figure net worth. They're high net worth. They've got substantial tax issues, a handful of advisors, and they just feel like they're lacking clarity. They don't know where to go. Or they want that second opinion and they want that stress test because they want to know that they're not making costly errors and they want to make sure their plans are going to deliver as expected. That's who I excel at working with, is the complicated people who really have in-depth financial lives, who have created significant wealth, and they want to pass that on, and they want to take care of the people they love, support the causes they care about, make an amazing impact in the world, and live an amazing life of significance.
I love it. And so, excuse me, this sort of dental entrepreneur who wants this kind of clarity, is there a specific action they should take? Or do you say, find me on LinkedIn? Is there like a contact button on your site? If someone says, this is me exactly, how do they reach out, contact directly?
Great question. We schedule a what's on your mind call. It's that simple. We'll grab half an hour, what's on your mind. And my whole goal is to serve you. It's to ask clarifying questions, and it's to get you to the right person, even if that right person isn't me, right? My heart is to serve the dentist out there and really make sure you're getting good advice from qualified people. And if we're not the right fit, I'll let you know. And if I think I can add substantial value, I'll let you know that too. But it all starts with a what's on your mind call.
Fantastic. And so to schedule that What's on Your Mind call, dentalwealthnation.com, will that get them there?
It will get them there. Yes.
Well, fantastic. And so depending on whatever your level of interest and awareness, if you say, I want to jump right to that, or if you're just someone who wants to claim the book or a podcast listener, then go to dentalwealthnation.com. And you know what, Tim, I really liked, especially when you mentioned about this goal life plan sort of criteria, it was a series of questions. And I find that really powerful, right? Instead of saying, hey, fill in this subcategory, you're saying, well, here's a specific question that I want to know about your money and your life and your goals and your future. And that's a really cool concept, is a series of questions. You answer it, and then you get this picture of what you want. And so dentalwealthnation.com is the place to go. And as we wrap up our conversation here, Tim, it's always fun to end on a fun, like a quote or lesson to really send us on our way, and maybe recap or just kind of something that has helped you in your own journey. So does anything jump out of your mind as far as a powerful quote or lesson to help us?
Oh man, I'm going to go deep here if that's okay, and a little controversial, but I'm a person of faith, man, and my faith plays such a massive role in everything that I do, and running a business, doing all those things. It's stressful, and there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of worry that comes in. And one of the things that the phrases that have become so powerful to me in my prayers is, Lord, I give everyone and everything to you, because at the end of the day, I'm going to work as hard as I can, but I've got to leave the results up to God and the Lord. And so that's where I'm going to leave it with, is I give everyone and everything to God. So I got to go deep there. You asked me a deep question, I'm going to give you a deep answer.
That's okay. We love deep, we love personal. And as we're thinking about that quote and its meaning and how to apply it, go right now to dentalwealthnation.com. It's been wonderful speaking with you, Tim.
Hey, such a pleasure.
All right.